Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 3 of Global Hack Week. I am very, very excited for the next event we have. This is one of my favorite streams that we do throughout the entire year of Global Hack Weeks. I know that folks in chat have already been hyping it up, but I'm super, super excited to introduce y'all to MLH's CEO and co-founder, Swift, who is going to be walking us through our 2024 season launch keynote. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Swift on, and he's going to be taking you through a bunch of exciting announcements and updates for this season ahead. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here. I feel like we've been building up to this big season launch, and finally the day has arrived where I get to share all the cool stuff we've got planned for the year ahead.
Yes, I'm getting so distracted by chat. The comments are flying.
They're hype. They're so hype right now.
People are very hype. I really liked this question from Amy earlier about this being asking folks what they think the mascot is. This really is the last chance to get some guesses in.
Wait, was I supposed to reveal the mascot during this presentation or something? I guess we'll have to wait and see if I remember to do it.
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Do you have any guesses? What are your leading theories right now?
We gave some guesses out at opening ceremony. I liked it was Haskell, the HTTPS hawk was one of my favorites. Yeah.
You have the extra security there with the S and the
yes.
HTTPS. Back in my day, we didn't always have HTTPS, It wasn't as universal as it is today.
Hummingbird would be a good one.
Ooh, hummingbird, yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
Tons of really good suggestions.
Mm.
Alrighty. Well, I think it's about that time. I'm going to take myself off the stream and give you the stage here, Swift. I will be back at the end for some Q&A, though. Amazing.
Thank you, Mary.
Alrighty. See ya.
Well, hello, everybody. I am so excited to be here with you today. This is the official launch of the 2024 MLH Hackathon season. This is a week-long celebration of all things hacking, and I have an action-packed keynote for you today with a bunch of exciting announcements about what you can expect from MLH in the year ahead, and some inspiring stories about community members from last year that I hope will set a really good tone and precedent for all of the things we've got coming this year too. Let me pull up my slides here. So for those of you who do not know me yet, I am Mike Swift, or you can all just call me Swift. And I am the CEO and co-founder of Major League Hacking, or MLH as we're more commonly known. Like many of you watching this stream, joining this community changed my life. And ever since that day, which now is more than a decade ago, I've been doing everything in my power to spread the word about what it means to be a hacker and to enable anybody to become one. My story actually starts way back when I was in high school. I was getting ready to head off to university where I planned to study to become a lawyer, actually. At the time, I'd been running a small landscaping business, and I realized that when I was heading off to university that I was going to need a new job. I can't actually bring a lawnmower to a dorm room after all, I realized. And so I did what any enterprising young college student would do. I went on the school's job board. I sorted the jobs by how much they paid, and I applied for every job that paid the most money, regardless of what it was for. And of course, in retrospect, that was actually a terrible strategy, and it's no wonder that almost nobody wrote me back at all. But I did actually get one email. It was from a small film company, and when I read it, I thought surely there must have been some kind of terrible mistake. It was an interview invitation to come in and interview for a job writing the company's accounting software and code. But I'd never coded before in my life. In fact, this algorithm here, I would never have even been able to write, at that time. And to be honest, I actually almost didn't take the interview. I mean, I liked computers, I liked games, but programming just seemed like something that was way outside of my abilities. None of my friends were programmers, and I'd never even heard of a startup before, let alone considered, doing one myself. But luckily, my friends and family encouraged me to take the interview. And, to my surprise, they actually offered me the job. And on my first day, I actually bought this book that claimed that it could teach me to code, in just 21 days. And I proceeded to come in and try to teach myself exactly how to do that. I figured in 3 weeks' time, either I would be successful or I'd be back exactly where I started, looking for a new job again. But things actually worked out, though. I had that job for nearly 2 years. But here's the thing. I actually never told anybody about it. I was super embarrassed. Remember, I wanted to be a lawyer, not a programmer. And none of my friends were even into programming or thought anything about it. So I just kept it to myself. It was my secret. Now, fast forward a few years, and one of my friends finally discovered my secret. I'd been in my room working on a project for work, and he came running to my door, burst through it, and said, "Hey, I hear you program. I'm going to this thing this weekend called a hackathon. You have to come with me." Now, I'd never heard of a hackathon before. The idea of literally going to some random university, being up all night for a weekend, building a project, coming up with ideas, like it sounded like something that elite programmers did, not a complete beginner who actually didn't even want to be a programmer, wanted to be a lawyer. But luckily, I decided to go. And I remember this moment walking into this room at NYU, which was maybe an hour away from my campus, and there were 100 other students who had given up their weekend of doing all the things that university students do to come back to campus and come up with these ideas for inventions like robots and websites and games and bring them to life in just 24 hours. And not only that, but they were going to show them off to everybody, this room full of complete strangers. I'd never felt anything like it before. I stayed up all night building a mashup of Facebook and Dropbox. It was going to be a file sharing network for you and all of your friends. And of course, actually, in classic hackathon fashion, I actually locked myself out of my own project at the end during the demos and couldn't even show off what I'd spent the whole weekend making. It was mortifying. And I remember going home after that event, totally exhausted, having been up all night, and I crashed hard. And I remember when I woke up, I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, that was the best experience of my life. Forget being a lawyer. I want to write software. And so the next day I did what felt intuitive. I switched my major to computer science with the goal of becoming a software engineer. But after I attended a few classes, I quickly realized that I was actually more lost than ever. It ends up that the things that they teach you in CS classes are not actually the things that you need to learn to be employable as a software engineer at all. It's a lot of theory and a lot of things that are really useful once you already have a job, but it's not going to get you there in the first place. I assumed that all of my classmates must have been coding since the time they could walk. I was never going to catch up. And I almost gave up entirely. But luckily, the friends that I made at my first hackathon just kept inviting me to more and more events over time. And after attending a few more hackathons, I realized that I was actually getting a world-class education on solving problems with code. It was just happening outside the classroom. So I went in head first. I went to every single hackathon I could find, probably more than anyone else in the world at the time, honestly. And I learned more in a year than I learned during my entire education up to that moment. I built friendships that have lasted to this day, and I started sharing the life-changing magic of this community with every single person I knew. Hackathons led to my first internship, founding my first startup, and ultimately landing my dream job when I graduated. Looking back, this community changed my life, and I would not be where I am today without it. And I'm not alone in feeling that way either. As I went to more and more hackathons, I started to notice something. There were a heck of a lot of people out there who felt exactly the same way I did. Whether you got a computer science degree, a boot camp certificate, or you're just a self-taught hobbyist, every single new technologist out there struggles with the same practical experience gap that I faced when I was getting my start. And ultimately, that's why I founded Major League Hacking, or MLH. Our mission is to empower the next generation of tech talent, or hackers as we call them, through hackathons, internships, and more. The MLH community is where hackers come to get their hands dirty with code and the technologies that employers actually care about and that they'll ultimately use in their jobs. We have a mix of both in-person and digital programs that are all free for developers. Any aspiring technologist in the world can build a track record and the network through MLH to close that experience gap and ultimately launch their career. And clearly that mission has struck a chord because we have grown a lot since I founded MLH, actually 10 years ago this July. In fact, at last count, MLH's community is more than 625,000 members strong and growing quickly. It's become the largest community of early career technology talent in the world, reaching hackers in more than 90 countries last year. On average, hackers spend more time with MLH during a single weekend than they spend during a CS class or an entire semester, and they learn 10 times as much too. Now, to put this big number into perspective, last year in the United States, 1 in every 3 computer science graduates were members of the MLH community. That means we're the largest single source of new developers in the United States, bigger than any individual institution. No matter where you go to work, odds are there'll be at least one other laptop plastered with MLH stickers somewhere nearby. And it won't be long until that's true in many, many more countries around the world as well. And all of that growth has been driven organically by this community. And when you sit down with hackers and listen to their stories, it's really no surprise at all that that's the case. In fact, today there are just so many amazing stories out there that it's impossible to keep up with all of them. And that's why every year MLH makes an effort to curate a few of those stories that stood out to us during the last 12 months. I'm sure many of you have heard of it. It's called the MLH Top 50. We recognize 50 members of MLH's community whose stories were truly inspiring. Hackers, organizers, sponsors, people who lived our mission of empowering hackers and have paved the way for others to follow in their footsteps. Given the impact of this community and just how many amazing leaders there are out there, putting together this list is an incredibly difficult process. We receive hundreds of nominations from community members, all of them inspiring in their own right. And we need to whittle it down to just 50. It's so hard, but making it on this list is a great honor. And I'm excited to introduce you to your 2023 class of the MLH Top 50. Let's hear from them directly.
Hi everyone, I am Aryan Arora.
My name is Dorsa Rohan.
My name is Olson.
My name is Matthew Espinoza.
I just finished my second year of studying computer science.
I'm a high school student at the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics.
The summer of my freshman year, I joined the Rookie Hacks.
One of my classmates recommending me to join a hackathon.
I joined the MLH community Discord server.
Back then, I was fairly new to the world of programming and the field of tech.
I was then introduced to the UJ Hacks organization.
It was a place where I got to find out there are people that are as enthusiastic as me about software development.
Hackathons are the best way to implement what you have in your mind.
You could go there without any experience and just start learning.
Through them, I get to learn a lot about different tools, different APIs.
We were watching our idea being brought to life.
GenHacks reignited my passion for programming.
I connected with like-minded folks, built up a great team.
We actually made the project and it was a huge success.
We actually won first place and my mind was blown.
The experience surely kept me coming back for more hackathons,
where I reunite with friends and challenge myself by building new projects.
This community has taught me to value learning and adaptability.
I immediately became a lot more extroverted.
It's given me some of the best friends in the world that I could ever ask for.
There's always someone there who's willing to go the extra mile just for you.
I found myself really immersed in how accepting and creative everyone in the community was.
It's always fun meeting people from different countries and learn from their traditions.
I just gained so much confidence in my skills.
It also really woke that voice that you have inside yourself that says, yes, I can.
The most rewarding aspect of my journey as hacker has been opportunity to mentor.
I always volunteer at coding boot camps, hackathons, and open source programs.
I started these weekly code review sessions.
I transitioned from being an attendee to organizer.
And it was amazing to see my months of work culminate into a successful event.
I was able to make everyone at my hackathon feel supported.
I really want to give people who are first in hackathon the same environment I got when I first started.
My role in the hacking community has really been to uplift others.
MLH Fellowship is one of the best things that has happened to my career so far.
We had the opportunity to work with Google for Education.
I was able to then further secure an internship this summer at Microsoft.
I am doing the Adobe Digital Academy right now and will be starting an internship with Adobe.
They've allowed me to pursue a career that I'm truly passionate about.
I'm hoping to continue building creative software, games, apps, and websites.
Hackathons have encouraged us to think outside the box and be a part of the solution.
And as one of MLH's top 50 hackers, I hope my story encourages others to be courageous and keep pushing through even when things get tough.
Yes, the tech field has so many challenges and obstacles, but when you surround yourself with other people who share the journey with you, it can only broaden the possibilities to achieve your dreams.
Wow. Help us congratulate the MLH Top 50 class of 2023 by giving them a huge shout out in the chat now. I actually saw a few of our top 50 recipients in the chat themselves, which it must be such a cool feeling to see yourself in front of so many people for all of the work that you put in over the last year and before that as well. Thank you so much to everybody who nominated members of this list. Again, it was an incredibly difficult process to identify these 50 community members that we hope will help inspire you in the year ahead. And I can't wait to see many of you here in the chat on this list next year and in years ahead as well. One thing I thought of during the video that I just wanted to mention is that at the end, I'll be doing a Q&A with Mary. If you have a question for me about any of the stuff in this slide or a slide deck or anything else that you're curious about, put it in the chat. We're keeping track of those questions and we'll ask a bunch of them at the end when we get into the Q&A. Now, the members of the MLH Top 50 have some incredible stories, and we're obviously really lucky to have them in our community. These are the people who helped us take the incredible strides we have in rebuilding and growing our community in the post-pandemic world. And you can find the full list and read about each of their journeys right now at top.mlh.io. The full list is live with all of their stories. But I'd like to highlight a few specific stories from that list that really stood out to me and I think demonstrate the power of this community. The first person I want to introduce you to is Victoria Ono. In high school, she had the opposite experience than most of her peers after finishing her first computer science course. Rather than being excited about a career in tech, she felt lost and uninspired in these new theoretical concepts, and she didn't feel welcome based on her experience. It wasn't until she heard about an organization called Code with Klossy that things actually changed for her. They were hosting a summer camp designed to get young women like Victoria excited about coding. Her experience there was completely different than anything she'd experienced in their CS classroom. She was surrounded by peers with similar backgrounds, and she felt welcome and supported enough to dive back into coding, luckily. That fall, Victoria and her friends from Code with Klossy decided to sign up for their first hackathon, Byte Hacks, in New York City. It is the largest all-women event in that region. Now, Victoria had no idea how they would come up with a project idea and bring it to life in less than 24 hours. It sounded like such a difficult task, but she felt excited for the adventure and dove in headfirst. After staying up all night working on the project, her team won the best health hack, which Victoria calls one of those rare moments where she felt true pride. Really impressive. Victoria became a regular at hackathons after Byte Hacks, participating in events like Codsolation, Technica, and multiple Tech Together events, which are a series of hackathon from Major League Hacking dedicated towards bridging that gender gap in tech. And the hackathons and the welcoming community she found there inspired her to go deeper into coding. Who knows where Victoria would be without them? Victoria knew eventually that she had to do something to help create similar opportunities for other women who might have the same negative introduction to tech that she did. She decided to volunteer to become a chapter director for Tech Together in Boston, which brought together hundreds of hackers from traditionally marginalized genders for a weekend of learning, building, and sharing. It was a huge success. Victoria's passion for giving back didn't end there, though. During the height of the COVID pandemic, when virtual events were quickly becoming the new norm for all of us, Victoria saw how this new technology could increase disparity among different people and communities in terms of access. She decided to get involved in a new virtual program designed to bring coding education to underrepresented school districts in Nebraska, actually, of all places. She's also deeply involved on her campus at Harvard, participating in the Harvard chapters of Women in Computer Science and serving on the board of the Harvard Women Engineers Code Conference, or RECODE as it's called, as both a logistics director and as one of the conference co-chairs. The most recent version of the conference, the first in-person event hosted by Harvard RECODE since the pandemic, was a smashing success. It brought together nearly 600 attendees in person and another 300 virtually. Now, Victoria says it was an honor to be able to host the largest student-run conference for women in tech in the world, and to know that she helped create a space where students could feel inspired to pursue a technical field. Victoria is one of nearly 3,000 leaders in the MLH community who work diligently to introduce local hackers to MLH and this community and create those types of life-changing experiences that Victoria and I both had, and as well as many of you. She started out just like most of us, attending hackathons, feeling unsure if she belonged. And Luckily, though, this is one of the most welcoming, inspiring communities you can find. And Victoria knew that she needed to bring that experience to others. And I hope many of you listening will go on to do the same thing too. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Rishab Nayak. Rishab started coding with a desire to help people. At his first tech event, actually in middle school, so really early, he and his team created a tool to convert sign language to text. Programming opened new doors and opportunities for Rishab throughout his entire early education. But despite that, he always thought of computer science and coding as a passion, not something he actually wanted to study, believe it or not. That's actually how he ended up enrolling as a biology major when he started as a student at Boston University years later. Now, Rishab's plans came to a screeching halt, though, when he heard about an event during his freshman year. It was an MLH hackathon on his campus called Boston Hacks. He was so inspired by the hackers around him. They could build prototypes faster than he could even come up with ideas. Rishab was motivated to learn everything he could about computers and become an expert hacker himself. So he started going to every MLH hackathon he could find. He attended Hack NYU, Hack Harvard, WAC, all in 1 year. And to his surprise, his team actually placed at a few of those events. Now, by the time Rishab was a sophomore, he had changed to a double major in chemistry and computer science, deciding that he wanted to use his passion for coding to give back to his local hacker community and to bring with him in his career. In fact, he actually got involved as an organizer of the local hackathon Boston Hacks and started helping to plan the event. Now, Rishab continues to go to every hackathon he could find throughout his university years. He loved to take prototypes he developed at hackathons and turn them into something even more impactful. While attending Perkins Hacks, a hackathon organized by Perkins School for the Blind, geared towards solving real-world problems for people who are blind, Rishab saw the potential to help people with impaired vision navigate their surroundings. He actually turned his hack into a tool for his grandparents who were struggling with sight and mobility. And after attending even more hackathons than he can remember, Rishab started looking for new ways to stay involved in the community too. And he actually took up mentoring at a lot of hackathons, giving back and helping other hackers to get started. While he was mentoring at Tech Together, the series of hackathons by MLH aimed at combating gender inequality we talked about in Victoria's story, Rishab worked with a team creating a smart lock for micromobility vehicles like electric bikes and scooters. And as the project progressed, after the hackathon, Rishab ended up transitioning from a mentorship role to actually working on the project full time. And that project eventually grew into the company that Rishab co-founded called Mount. To date, Mount has employed a team of 12 people and raised over $4 million in funding, all started from a hackathon. Rishab continues to stay passionate about helping others and hopes to inspire other first-generation students to follow their dreams and find some success the way he has. Rishab is an inspiring example of how the projects that you build at hackathons can make a real impact on you and the world around you too. Now, Rishab was one of about 60% of MLH hackers who wanted to keep working on their project after the event, and he was even able to turn his into a full-time job. It's super impressive. Finally, I want to introduce you to Sarah Graywood. Now, tech is actually Sarah's second career. She started out as a teacher, believe it or not. And given her passion for education and knack for mentoring others, it felt like a natural career fit at first. Unfortunately, though, the COVID-19 pandemic changed things completely for her. She suddenly found herself teaching more than 100 students remotely, and she was working 60+ hours a week, struggling to find time for her family and just feeling the drag of perpetual burnout. But luckily, something good did come from that experience. Around that time, Sarah got excited about how the technology that she was using could be used to transform education. So she decided to teach herself how to code during her breaks in between her classes, and she was quickly hooked by her experience. She actually decided to take a huge risk and dive in by enrolling in a tech bootcamp. Giving up her career in teaching was so hard, but ultimately it was a risk that paid off. Through that bootcamp, Sarah was able to learn enough to land a job at Flickr. She was on her way to a new career, or so she thought. Unfortunately, like many of us have experienced in the last year, the role unexpectedly fell through due to a hiring freeze. Sarah was devastated and didn't know what to do. But luckily, that's when the CEO of her bootcamp told Sarah about MLH and recommended that she apply to this thing called the MLH Fellowship. For those of you who don't know, the MLH Fellowship is an internship alternative for aspiring technologists run by MLH. Over the course of about 12 weeks, fellows get their hands dirty with the actual technologies that they'll be using when they land a full-time role. Rather than working on an internal app that never sees the light of a day as an intern, they contribute to open source and group projects that tackle the real challenges that thousands of companies around the world are facing. It's all funded by employers who want to hire fellows after mentoring and work alongside them during the program. We have specializations already for open source technologies, site reliability engineering, and Web3 today, and there's even more on the way. We run the fellowship in 3 batches, the fall, spring, and summer, matching the semesters of the year and times you would do internships and co-ops. In fact, the application for the fall fellowship is live now at fellowship.mlh.io if you're interested in learning more. Sarah initially felt intimidated about applying, though. With such little experience, how could she possibly compete against experienced hackers who were surely applying? But luckily, she decided to take a chance, and she applied. To her surprise, she got in. Thanks to her passion, determination, and ability to learn quickly, the MLH team felt like she'd make a great fellow. During her fellowship, Sarah contributed to a bunch of major open source projects that helped her hone her coding skills and build a track record of success. They exposed her to new concepts that got her even more excited. After graduating, she's felt less stressed, is better able to balance her work and life, and feels like she's truly enjoying her new career in tech. As a result of that experience, Sarah was able to land an internship with Adobe that actually started this past June. And now she has a path to a full-time role as a software engineer. Now she's looking for ways to give back to the community, especially increasing accessibility for hackers who have non-traditional paths and lack the resources to attend computer science programs like she did. Sarah is a great example of how the MLH community can help hackers develop the confidence and track record that employers are looking for when they're getting their start. Victoria, Rashab, and Sarah are just 3 examples of the inspiring stories that you'll find in our 2023 class of the Top 50. You can check out all their stories at top.mlh.io, and actually you can follow us on Instagram at MLHacks, where we'll be sharing many of these and other inspiring stories throughout the year. Now, the MLH Top 50 are just the tip of the iceberg in our community. These are just a few of the tens of thousands of amazing stories that come out of this community every year. Tag somebody in the chat who you think has an inspiring story that you would want to see recognized next year in the top 50. We'd love to know who they are and what they did to inspire you so much. Now, when we stop and ask community members about the impact of MLH on their lives, the data tells us exactly why hackers are so passionate. For starters, about 91% of hackers say that they're learning skills in the MLH community that they cannot find in a classroom. Technology changes so quickly, and our education system was never designed to keep up. Now, compare that with MLH hackathons, workshops, and fellowships, where hackers are working on the latest and greatest technologies every day while it's being built. In fact, many of them are building it themselves. It's creative, collaborative, and fun in a way that's unlike any classroom experience you'll find. It's no wonder that nearly 40% of MLH community members say that joining this community changed their life and they would not be where they are today without it. Whether your aspirations are to be a software engineer, a founder, a developer advocate, or more, we want MLH's community to be a launching pad for you to get your start. Every weekend, you're out at events, you're building a track record and a network that will ultimately enable you to begin your journey light years ahead of your peers. It's in a challenging economic environment like the one we're in now, it's even more important for early career talent to be differentiated and to build up practical experience and a real track record. That's why this season, MLH is doubling down on the community so you can double down on yourself. You can expect more events, more opportunities to explore new career paths, and more opportunities to get your hands dirty with the tools that you'll need to take those first steps. And before we officially launch the season, I'd love to share some detail around our plans for the year ahead. Now, anybody who's been attending Global Hack Weeks during the spring, you've actually already started to see some of my first announcement in action. For those of you where this is your first Global Hack Week, or GHW as we like to call them, this is just one of a series of 12 events that allow you to really explore an area in the tech industry. Each month, we pick a theme like security, AI, or crypto, and craft a week-long schedule of tutorials, freebies, and challenges that will allow you and your friends to learn the basics of this important tech discipline. The events bring together thousands of hackers from around the world, which have grown into a vibrant digital community. And for those of you who've been attending GHWs in the past, post one of your favorite memories in the chat now so that people can get a feel for the types of things that come out of Global Hack Week. Now, there haven't always been monthly GHW events. That's actually something we started doing earlier this year. And after seeing the initial success and the passion of the community, I'm excited to announce that they're here to stay. At any point in time, we'll always have the next 3 events live on the Global Hack Week website at ghw.mlh.io. You can actually go there right now to register for Data Week in August and Web3 Week in September. And at the end of this week, we'll be announcing October's event as well. Now, in addition to loving these new career-ready themes that allow you to explore different industries, we heard from the community that you've been loving the live streams. So that's why I'm excited to share that over the next few months, we're going to be expanding our content library and adding even more streams around the clock throughout the weekend. You'll hear from some of your favorite streamers and many new ones too. These streams will make it easy for you to get started with new technologies, better connect with hackers, and earn points for your guilds if you're in one. Have an idea for a stream that you'd love to see? Post that in the chat as well. We'd love to hear what you're looking for, and the Global Hack Week team can see what they do to bring that content to you. Of course, we'll be launching a new Global Hack Week for October, as I mentioned before, at the end of this week. And it's one in particular that I'm really excited about, and I really think that you will be too. It's a skill that nearly everyone believes will be essential for their career in tech, but only a small fraction of our community has really developed, and that's open source skills. In fact, 3 out of 5 MLH community members still haven't contributed to open source yet, but want to. So what's holding them back, you may be asking? Well, it's things that we should absolutely be able to overcome. 35% say they just don't know where to get started. Open source is overwhelming and can feel scary and unwelcoming. Another third believe that they're just not skilled enough. Finding the right issue for your skills and interests is like finding a needle in a haystack sometimes. At MLH, we believe that every hacker should start their career as a great open source citizen with the knowledge and confidence that they need to maintain and build our most critical technical infrastructure. And that's why I'm excited to announce that in October, we're teaming up with one of our friends who has been doing some amazing work in this space to inspire the next generation of open source citizens. Some of you may have heard of them and even participated in the event. It's DigitalOcean's Hacktoberfest, a month-long celebration of open source projects, their maintainers, and the entire community of contributors. Global Hack Week October will be Open Source Week, and will be an official part of the Hacktoberfest 2023 schedule. Throughout the week, you'll hear from inspiring maintainers, learn open source best practices, and ultimately end up making contributions to open source projects yourself, walking away with new confidence and connections. Registrations for Global Hack Week Open Source will go live at the end of this week. You can find it again at ghw.mlh.io to get more info and register. And of course, you can stay tuned for more details about Hacktoberfest from DigitalOcean in the months ahead. We couldn't be more excited about this partnership and hope that you are too. Now, in addition to expanding our Global Hack Week library with a host of new themes, we actually wanted to bring opportunities for hackers to explore their interests and new skills throughout the whole year. And of course, there's one place that makes a lot of sense to do that. That's at digital hackathons MLH runs every week. Now, it may come as a surprise to many of you, but prior to 2020, there actually were no MLH digital events at all. Today, we run at least one digital hackathon every single weekend. And similarly to Global Hack Week, we've been rethinking the themes of these events recently from the ground up. Digital events allow anyone in the world to join the MLH community any week of the year, no matter where they're based. And by offering at least one of these digital events every single week of the pandemic since early 2020, we radically expanded access to the MLH community and democratized access to the types of life-changing experiences to hackers who previously just didn't have access. These new themes like transportation, design, gaming, health tech, education, allow hackers to explore various disciplines and build projects that ultimately align with their career goals and tell a story for when they go out looking for their first job. What have been the favorite themes that you've seen so far, and what themes would you like to see us add this year? Post them in the chat to let our team know. We'll be keeping an eye out for some new themes for us to add. Now, of course, exploring potential career paths is only part of the process of actually launching your career. Having hands-on experience with specific technologies that you can use to solve real problems with code is absolutely essential too. And unlike most classroom learning, which is largely theory-based, MLH events are a place where you can gain that practical experience. While your hackathon project might feel less authentic than what you'd imagine to be doing on a job, you'd actually be surprised to learn how directly those skills and experiences actually translate. In fact, a full 89% of hackers believe that they're learning practical skills that will directly enable them to land a job, or may have already done so today. The languages, APIs, frameworks, and hardware devices, the hard skills as we call them, that you're using at hackathons will ultimately become the tools that you bring with you into your career journey. We actually have really interesting data about how this translates into reality too. 1 in every 3 employed hackers or alumni of the MLH community right now have introduced a technology that they learned at a hackathon into production at their current job. That's incredible to think about. Hackers are also learning valuable soft skills like how to collaborate with others, pitch and present their ideas, debug issues, and so much more that employers just love to see. There's a real tangible benefit to things you're learning. So for the 2024 season, we're planning to greatly expand the library of tools that you'll have access to and that you can use in your projects at events. We've specifically gone out looking for technologies that are in rapidly growing importance and are conspicuously absent from the classroom. Things like AI, crypto, and data tools. We've actually already added 5 new partners in these sectors: Circle, Flow, Stellar, Streamlit, and TypeI. You'll see new challenges from each of them at hackathons. And of course, we'll receive credit to get started and access to high quality educational materials to get you going. Of course, these new partners will appear alongside many of your favorites in our rapidly growing software lab. Whether you need a database, hosting, authentication, tokenization, domains, computation, you get the idea. We've got you covered thanks to the amazing partners that you see here. Their technologies will help bring your hacks to life, and you'll walk away with new valuable skills that you can add to your resume right away. Of course, we'll have cool prizes that you can win for using these tools at hackathons to incentivize your learning, and we'll make it even sweeter for having done so. You can always find the full list of prizes and partners at hack.mlh.io if you're curious. Between these new themes and tools, we're excited to set you up to explore even more technologies and ultimately find your passion. We can't wait to see what you build next. Now, in addition to being a place where you can come to explore new career opportunities and get hands-on experience with the tech you need in your career, another thing I love about the MLH community is that it's a place where you can feel welcome and find belonging. I still remember that feeling myself when I walked into my first hackathon, and it's very much alive and well today in this community. In addition to being one of the largest tech communities out there, I'm proud to say that MLH is also one of the most diverse communities out there too. In fact, last year, 3 out of 5 developers in the MLH community identified themselves as part of an underrepresented group in tech. That's an incredible stat. On average, the MLH community is 2 to 3 times more diverse than a typical computer science classroom here in the US, and even better globally. This community is literally changing the face of the wider tech community, making the industry more inclusive and diverse than ever. We didn't get here overnight though. Making hackathons safe and welcoming spaces has been a long-term priority for our entire community. And clearly that investment has paid off over the last 10 years. We heard the importance of this firsthand earlier in Victoria's story, in fact. But at MLH, we always recognize there's more to do. And that's why last year we announced that MLH had officially acquired Tech Together, a nonprofit that we talked about earlier, focused on diversifying the hackathon community by hosting events that serve hackers from traditionally marginalized genders. And after growing that community to more than 10,000 hackers, we saw an opportunity to scale Tech Together's success by putting MLH's full resources behind it. We've already seen how transformational it can be to create safe, welcoming spaces for communities of hackers who traditionally are not seen in the tech industry and often left behind. And now that we're a year in, we're starting to think about ways that we can expand the impact of Tech Together and bring it to even more hackers who need it around the world. That's why I'm excited to announce that we're officially bringing Tech Together online and committing to run a digital Tech Together hackathon every single month. Now, no matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to find an amazing gender-inclusive community of hackers where you can get your start. The first few events will be live registration at the end of this keynote, actually. So stay tuned or head to techtogether.mlh.io to find out more. Now, between the new themes, new technology, new events, clearly we've got a lot to look forward to in the 2024 season. But knowing all of you, there's one new thing I haven't talked about yet that I know you're looking forward to. Anybody have any idea what that might be? Of course, it's the new swag. How could I forget? Hackers love swag. They love to tell everyone they know that they're a part of this community by wearing t-shirts, plastering laptops and water bottles with stickers, and sporting any hacker gear they can get their hands on. Last year, MLH sent out hundreds of thousands of swag items. Nearly 2 in 3 hackers wear or use something with MLH swag on it every single day of the week. Now, given that frequency, of course, we have to keep things fresh with new swag every year. And if you somehow haven't heard by now, MLH creates a new mascot who appears on all the swag we give out during the season. Each year, the new mascot has a new character and theme that follows the letter of the alphabet. So 2 years ago was Frankie, the file system ferret. Last year was Gene, the glitchy giraffe. Before I reveal a new mascot, I'd love to actually know which of these mascots from MLH's past is actually your personal favorite. Look back on all of them from A to G and let us know in the chat which one really spoke to you. So if last year's mascot was G, giraffe, glitchy, that means that the new character and theme this year must start with H. Also, if anybody has any guesses about what that might be, now would be a really good time to put those in the chat too. Maybe hawk, horse, hamster. What about the technologies too? There's holographic, hexadecimal, HTTP or HTTPS, as we heard before. There's so many options to pick from. But wait, what's that? A new mascot is emerging. What could it be? The moment of truth is finally here. Any final guesses before we reveal it? Meet your 2024 season mascot, Hanson the Hardware Hippo. Hanson will appear on stickers, shirts, and so much more. I personally can't wait to get my hands on some of the awesome Hanson swag this season, and I'll be willing to bet that you can't either. In fact, I heard that we might be giving away some to our most active hackers this week during the season launch, so make sure you're participating in challenges every day and are super active in the chat and on Discord. Of course, if you missed it though, you can always earn a Hanson t-shirt and sticker at any MLH Hackathon this season, and let me tell you, we're going to have a lot of opportunities for you to earn that swag this season. In fact, we're growing the MLH Hackathon League to more than 230 events this year. They'll take place all between today and June of 2024, both in person and digitally, making it easy for anyone in the world to join the MLH community and participate in whatever way makes sense for them. Now, that's a lot of hackathons, and I bet you're just as excited as I am. And in anticipation of this exact moment, our team has been working closely with the schools and organizers behind some of your favorite events, which brings me to my final announcement of the day. The 2023 MLH Hackathon season schedule is officially live. 2024 MLH Hackathon season schedule is officially live. Don't want to make that mistake there. Head to MLH.io/events, where you'll find more than 40 hackathons. That's 25% more events than last year that hackers can register for today, including many in-person experiences. Your hackathons will have all the same benefits from MLH that you've come to know and love: prizes, software, swag, mini events, so much more. Head there now, MLH.io/events, to find the calendar and register for your favorite hackathons today. I'd love to hear about which hackathon you're most looking forward to on the list. Put your answer in the chat. Let us know what you're registering for and where we can expect to see you this season. Further, if you're planning to organize a hackathon in the next 12 months and want your event listed, make sure you reach out and chat with one of our many hackathon community managers. We would love to help you and find a way to support your local community as well. So head over to MLH.io/events to find the hackathons in the 2024 hackathon season. Now, with that, we can call the 2024 season officially launched. I know I speak for the entire MLH team when I say that we couldn't be more excited to learn, build, and share with all of you this year. Our community has had so much to be proud of and has so much to look forward to, frankly, in the months ahead. While we may be 10 years into MLH's journey, it really is truly still day zero for this community and for all of you. And we can't wait to see what you go on to do next. In closing, I want to thank you for being a part of our community and for everything you do to make it so awesome. Once again, I'm Swift, the CEO and co-founder of MLH for Major League Hacking. Thank you, everybody, and happy hacking. I'll see you out there in the 2024 hackathon season.
That was incredible, Swift. Oh my goodness. I see the comments are already flooding in. honestly don't know what announcement I'm most excited about.
I can't wait to get my hands on some of that Hanson swag.
Yes.
I love hardware, and I think it's super cool.
Incredibly.
Did anybody guess hardware and Hippo, or was it a true surprise?
I didn't see hardware and Hippo in the chat. I saw lots of Hippo guesses, but not a lot of hardware. Since we don't have a ton of time for questions, I'd love to jump straight into it. For folks in the chat, I'm going to be watching your comments to give Swift a couple questions. But one that I saw come up several times throughout your keynote, Swift, was folks who want to see themselves in the top 50 hackers in the future. So I'm curious if you could start out with maybe some tips for folks in this season, what types of things they can be doing, particularly for folks new to the community. How can they really dive in this year?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So as I mentioned during the keynote, picking the top 50 is an incredibly difficult process. Literally, there are thousands of inspiring stories out there that come up every year, and picking 50 of them is a very, very arduous task. The best advice I can give you is really to think about a specific part of your journey that you think really represents something special that other people can aspire to, and really focus on that throughout your application. So, for example, looking back on, I'll just use Victoria as an example, since she's, front and center. Victoria's journey was really all about how creating safe and inclusive and welcoming communities for traditionally marginalized groups can really help make hackathons and tech a safe and welcoming space, and how we can all model that and use that in our own communities. We saw similar things, with Rashab when, he turned his hack into, a project that ultimately had longevity after the hackathon. He did that multiple times. And same thing with Sarah, actually, who had to completely reinvent her career and pathway over and over again. So really thinking about something that a specific element, rather than trying to get every possible thing you've ever done in your application and focus on that, is a really good tip. And then the other thing is, of course, nominations, right? Like, we use nomination process to identify people in the top 50. If you have your friends or people that you think would be inspired by your story submit nominations for you, that'll ultimately help make sure that you're in the list of people that we're considering and evaluating as well.
Nice. I think that was all really, really great advice. I saw we also had quite a few questions around online events versus in-person events. I was curious if you could tell us a little bit more about what folks can keep doing online throughout this year.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So just to be clear, online events are not going anywhere. MLH is committed to running at least one digital hackathon every single week of the year indefinitely. As I said during the keynote, it has radically democratized access to this community and to these types of transformational, life-changing experiences. And we're not going to do anything to jeopardize that. Now, with that said, we are really focused right now on bringing back in-person communities. And I really do believe that they both have an important role to serve in our, the MLH network, right? Digital communities about democratizing access, creating opportunities throughout the year, making it easy for anybody to engage and spend a weekend hacking. In-person communities, in-person events are actually a catalyst that bring lots and lots of people into our community in the first place. Getting started in an online event is tough. It's kind of scary, and you're kind of isolated, to be honest, right? Maybe you have some friends that are excited about hackathons and can bring you in, but ultimately it's a lot more difficult to create a initial transformational experience through digital events than it is through in-person stuff. And so having a mix of both is really important. We're going to be really focused on events that can have an outsized impact in the beginning part of this year. Obviously, times are really tough for hackers, for organizers, for companies. Like, everybody's really tech right now. Times are tough in tech, right? And so we need to be really focused on making sure that we can support the biggest impact we possibly can in the fall. And that might mean focusing on some of the larger events regionally, or helping events that have aspirations to become larger to grow. This is something we're actually going to be talking about a lot during our organizer conference, HackCon, which maybe this is a good time for us to plug that, actually. So if you're thinking about organizing a hackathon, you already are organizing one, you want to learn best practices and meet other organizers and just have a great weekend, thinking about how to plan the best event and how to build a great, inspiring community, HackCon is the place for you. It's happening in August in upstate New York. It is every single year one of my top 2 or 3 weekends of the year, consistently. It has been for the last literally 10 years. So certainly something that I would recommend anybody who has aspirations of being an organizer or community leader go to. And hopefully we'll see a bunch of you out in upstate New York at a beautiful summer camp to talk about hackathons and growing this community.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of organizing events, I saw a couple questions came in about how to get involved with organizing an event through us. What can folks do if they want to, start building an in-person community wherever they're located?
Yeah, so we have a handful of resources that are super useful. The first one I'll say is MLH has limited resources. As much as I would wish that we could actually support every single hackathon that needs our help, we unfortunately can't. We can't be in a million places at once, and we only have so much time and resource to be able to allocate. So we have to be a bit selective. What we look for in events is it in a region that we can make an outsized impact and bring together lots of regional hackers? Is it an event that's going to be well planned and well run? And ultimately, does it align with MLH's goals around making the community more accessible, helping people learn specific career skills, and so on down the line. There's an application on our website you can fill out. I believe it's mlh.io/organize an event, maybe something like that. But if you click on organize in the top menu bar, there's a one there for organize a hackathon. So you can do that to apply. If you're learning how to organize a hackathon, we have this thing called the guide, which is guide.mlh.io. It's basically an open source book about how to run a great hackathon, both physical and digital. So absolutely read that and do those things. And then if you're just getting started, maybe you're not ready for a full overnight hackathon yet, we also have this thing called the MLH Pizza Fund, which I actually don't know the URL for Pizza Fund right now, but maybe we can figure it out and put it in the chat somewhere. But it is effectively a program where if you want to run a local meetup for your community, MLH will fund pizza for you to gather your in-person community to help incentivize people to get back together and hack. Right now, it is restricted to just the United States, I believe, but we are hoping to expand that globally over the months ahead as the community starts to rebound and more companies are making investments and helping to build out their communities again.
And I see a couple of folks were asking about specific types of hackathons. Could you tell us a little bit about how we're picking out themes this year?
Yeah, this is a really good question. So I don't know if we have a DevOps or SRE one. If we don't, we probably should. Obviously it fits with some of the things we're doing in fellowship land, and Mary and Siddharth can probably think about that a little bit here. But one of the most important places that we get this information is on the biannual season census that MLH sends out, which should be going out in a couple of weeks here. Basically, twice a year, MLH sends out a massive survey to the whole community about their experience with MLH, with hackathons, and their careers. And we use that data to ultimately inform a lot of the work that we do throughout the year, especially identifying specific career paths and skills that people are looking to learn. So as an example, many of the specific themes that we picked for the MLH digital hackathons and for Global Hack Week, those came out of the last fall season census. So keep an eye out for that in your inbox. If you are registered for Global Hack Week, I assure you, you'll receive that survey. It is long, but it is really valuable for you to contribute to the community that way. And if there's something you really want us to do, that's a really great place to let us know, and also in the chat here.
Yes, absolutely. And I know you touched on this with an answer you gave a couple of questions back, but could you tell us a little bit about folks applying for jobs this year and things that we're going to be doing to help out hackers looking for jobs?
Yeah. Being honest, right, it's a really tough job market right now, especially for early career tech talent. Given how many layoffs of senior talent that there's been over the last 12 months, it's just a more competitive market than it was a year ago. That's the truth. And that's not to say there's not companies hiring. I want to really clarify that. In fact, the demand for tech talent especially is still growing, and there's still many, many companies that are probably not your traditional FANG type companies or traditional tech startups that are hiring. And so you may need to, cast a wider net when you're searching to look for roles. At MLH, there's a couple of things that we want to do specifically to help hackers during this time. One of them is about creating really compelling opportunities for them to build up specific relevant career skills for their resume. One of the things that employers look for when they're, going through a pool of potentially thousands of applicants for roles is actual domain experience and interest. So if you're applying for a company that is like a health tech company, having a bunch of hacks that you made at MLH events that were health tech themed, I assure you will be something that demonstrates passion and experience in the industry and will set you apart from other candidates. That could be true for many other industries, and having a wide range of different topics for you to explore is one of our goals. So not only hopefully help you figure out potential career paths, but also again build a track record. The other thing MLH is doing is working with specific partners that are hiring to funnel career opportunities to people in our community. We weren't ready to share any of that today, but I can say that coming this fall, we will have a bunch of new opportunities for people to find jobs and ultimately connect with employers that are looking to hire specifically out of the MLH community. Of course, the fellowship continues to be a major one for that too. So, right now we have 2 programs running. We have 3 programs. We have open source, DevOps SRE, and Web3 all live. I think in the fall, we actually have a continuation of a few of those as well, and applications should be open for that. So absolutely another really great thing to check out. But yeah, I really think that our role at MLH should be helping people build a track record of success and leverage the experience they have here into a successful career. And anything we can do to support that is something we should be doing.
We have time for just a few more, but speaking of applications, do you have any tips on applying to the MLH Fellowship? Yeah,
it's an incredibly competitive opportunity, being honest, right? Like thousands of people apply for those opportunities. There are a ton of really great resources of fellows who have talked about what they did in the application process. We actually share a ton of that information. When you start applying, we will actually send you emails explaining what to do. For those who might not know, it starts with a written application, and then there are 2 interviews, one behavioral and one technical, that we use to evaluate admission to the program. For those, like on the written application, demonstrate passion, demonstrate, ability to learn, submit code samples in the language that you want to be using during the program. Can't tell you how many people submit a code sample in another language and how hard it is to evaluate how good somebody is at JavaScript and when they send in a Python, demo. So send that in. When you do the interviews, prepare for them. Practicing is absolutely an important part of that process. It will make you better at interviewing. And ultimately talking to other fellows about their experiences and what they did. But the truth is there are a lot of really great applicants, and I wish we had spots for all of them. Often it is constrained by region or technology. So, we have some programs that are restricted to North America, some that are restricted to APAC. It depends on where you are. And so kind of understanding the regions that are available to all programs and applying for the ones that actually make sense for your skills, your interests, and your region or wherever you might be in your career timeline, I think are all important. The other thing I'll say too is, depending on where you are in your journey, the fellowship is a great place for those who already know how to code that are looking to build that track record of success, but it's not a place that you can really come to learn to code. So having some experience on that, going to a bunch of hackathons or events and really building up some personal projects is probably a smart thing to do before you apply as well.
Yes, and I know we are getting close to time here, but so could you tell us a little bit about what areas we're running in-person events in right now?
Yeah, so we have in-person events in the US, Canada, United Kingdom, India, and we may have a few hackathons in mainland Europe this year as well. I think there was one in Barcelona, maybe a couple other places too that are escaping me off the top of my head, and Mexico. Sorry, I don't want to leave that out as well. We actually have a few events there too. We may add some other locations in APAC, specifically like Singapore. We've had events in the past. I don't know that we have plans to go back to Australia right away, but we have been there in the past as well as another example. But our official regions are listed in our member event guidelines. So if you're applying, you can look there. Unfortunately, we're not planning to expand to other geographies we're not present in right now beyond the ones we've already been in. Definitely something we want to do in the future, but something I'll just set expectations will probably not happen in the year ahead. But definitely something we're always thinking about. As I mentioned during the keynote, we had community members in more than 90 countries last year, and having hackathons in all of those locales would be amazing. It'd be really hard to do, but something we certainly would love to get to one day. And so something we're definitely always thinking about, and finding the right partners that are interested in supporting these local communities is the essential first step in getting there.
Nice. And for our last question, Swift, I was curious if you could tell us kind of twofold what you're most excited for the 2024 season, and then maybe if you could touch a little bit on how folks can keep in touch with you and additional updates that are going to come throughout the year.
Yeah, that's both really great questions. I think the thing that really always excites me about any season is just seeing what people do. And it's not just about what they build or about the events they plan or about the connections they make, but really just how this community changes lives. And I read those stories in the top 50. I hear stories from our community members, and that's what motivates me to do this. I've been running MLH for 10 years now. I don't have any plans of stopping anytime soon. And the reason I have that fuel is because this community is such a an inspiring and welcoming place that I really feel like we're making an impact, every one of us. And it's not just, you know, people who work at Major League Hacking. It really is a community in the truest sense of it. And everybody here in the chat, you know, at our events, they're making this a place that ultimately people want to be, and that makes a really outsized difference in the world and in people's lives. So hearing about those results, like that is what I'm most looking forward to. And as far as staying in touch, I'd love to hear from community members. You can always email me at swift@mlh.io. I may not be the one to answer your question, but I will certainly connect you with the person who can if I can't do it myself. And, you know, of course, you can always follow me on Twitter, SwiftAlpha1. I probably should get some new social media accounts, and maybe LinkedIn or something is probably the next best one, but we'll work on that. That's another goal for me in the year ahead, maybe, is to expand my repertoire here. But otherwise, you can find me around on Discord and other places like that, and I would love to hear from you. I'm sorry if I didn't get a chance to answer all of your questions, but I hope that we will find opportunities to do so down the line, and I can't wait to see what everybody builds this year. So happy hacking and happy season launch, everybody.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Swift. If anyone had additional questions, feel free to drop those over in Discord. I'll do my best to get to all of those. But huge thank you to Swift. We really appreciate you coming over here. I am incredibly excited for this season ahead of us. And we will hop off this stream. We have another one starting right after this. So happy hacking, everybody.
Bye, everybody.